Hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing really, really well today, wherever in the world you're joining us from. I want to welcome you to this month's P&G Alumni Network Enrichment Series webinars. I'm your host, Ileana Rojas, and I hope you're all safe and well. And today we have a wonderful guest with us. However, before we start our conversation, I want to tell you a little bit about the Enrichment Series. This is a monthly series where our goal is to connect members and provide enriching content where we hope that you learn something new and leave you inspired. And we do this by leveraging the expertise that we have within our network. Now, all of this is part of a bigger mission of the P&G Alumni Network, which is a nonprofit founded by former P&G employees to share ideas, talents, resources with each other, our communities, and philanthropy efforts. Now, we have more than 35,000 registered members in 45 chapters worldwide and growing every year. And the P&G Alumni Network is officially recognized and supported by P&G. Now, we connect via global conferences, local chapters, industry events, and online content. And our nonprofit foundation supports economic empowerment initiatives in communities around the world, as we're going to see here today. Now, a couple of notes on the webinar logistics. I assume that many of you have already been on Zoom webinars for a very long time. I mean, we're 3 years into these digital spaces being part of our everyday. But in case you haven't, this is your what you're going to be seeing, your screen, where you'll be able to see the content, the polls, the slides, our speakers. And we invite you to interact through the Q&A function that's on the bottom of your screen. Feel free to ask questions throughout any moment of the webinar today, and I'll make sure to filter them and to be able to share them with our guest. For the most part, we will leave the questions towards the end of the presentation. However, like I shared, feel free to add them at any point in time, and we will pick them up as they come. Now, before I turn it on to our guest, let me run a couple of poll questions because for us, it's very important to know who is here. Let me just run the polls. And I'm launching question number 1. If you can answer on your screen. Thank you. Thank you. Let me launch question number 2. Oh, it's question number 4. But anyways, the second question. Thank you so much. Let me ask the next question. Thank you. And just a couple more questions and we'll be done. Thank you. Thank you so much. We really appreciate answering the questions. It's always important for us to Andres Stolz, co-founder and managing director of Budding Innovation. And he is also the P&G Alumni Entrepreneur winner of the 2023 I don't know if it's like a cohort but you'll tell us a little bit more, Andre. Thank you so much for being here with us, and congratulations on winning this award. And I'll pass it on to you. Let me stop sharing my screen so that you can share with us a little bit more.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Eliana, and hello, everyone. I'm very delighted to be able to contribute to this P&G alumni chapter and share some of my learnings that I've gained throughout my now 8 years of entrepreneurial journey. So yes, hello, everyone. Good morning, good day, good evening, depending on where you are. So I'm speaking from Southeast Asia. And of course, I've prepared a couple of slides to help guide through the conversation. So I will start first off with the transition from corporate to entrepreneurship. I will share a couple of early successes, but also challenges building Budding Innovations, which is our company. I'll then go into and focus a bit more on startup entrepreneurship and share some of the key lessons and insights we've gained there. And then I will discuss a little bit the role of collaboration and the opportunity for this P&G alumni community. And then towards the end, we'll probably have around 20 minutes for some Q&A, where we'll take some of your questions. So, and I want to encourage every one of you, even throughout the sessions, if you have any insights to share, something similar, if you have some queries, please bring them up. I will try to answer a couple of them throughout the session. If not, we will take some of your questions and answer them and address them towards the Q&A. All right, so I'm originally from Germany. I have an engineering background and started my corporate career in 1999. I joined Braun, who was famous for electric devices, mostly shavers and toothbrushes. I've had various roles in plant, global engineering, and was one of the youngest engineering managers in the Shanghai plant before I then integrated into the P&G business as part of the Gillette organization. And having worked in Asia, I really enjoyed it, and I decided to move to Singapore and join a heritage P&G business. So I've joined the personal healthcare division as the innovation diamond leader, right hand to the GM or VP, and learned on how to plan and implement innovation more holistically. During that time, I've met my current co-founder, Dr. Bert Grobben, from Belgium, and we've been intensely working together to develop new products. When he moved into an open innovation role, we've also tried to bring external technologies, for example, from A-Star, which is a national research organization here in Singapore, into the corporate. However, we saw that there were many challenges due to many reasons: structure, communication, decision-making, or just the maturity of the solution. And that's where we've decided, hey, there's an opportunity to start our own business, Budding Innovations, being able to work with promising early stage technology solution, mature them to a stage, scale them up so that then they can be applied into the corporate world. And that's how we founded Budding Innovation. From there, we've also, since we've not only been doing corporate innovation, but also working with startups, we've also founded our own startup, EcoWorth, the clean tech startup with which I've participated and won the Alumni P&G Award, was one of our first and biggest startups. But both my co-founder and myself, we have various experiences in CXO, co-founding, or just advisory and mentorship roles. So here you'll see the current team in Budding Innovation, at least part of the team. Bert Grobben here in the middle together with me and some of the Singapore-based team members. We're in total 13 people, mostly in Singapore, but we are basically working with clients all over the world. And our slogan is that we envision your future and build your present. On one side, we do corporate innovations and we help corporates through strategic foresight to position themselves better for the mid to longer term. And then we provide various business building services to help companies grow through applying and implementing technology-based solutions. Especially in a world where there's impact now from climate change, from geopolitical impacts, or consumer perception change or behavior, we help companies to evaluate what are the risks and opportunities coming towards them in the future. And then we turn this strategic foresight into what makes technological sense. So we work with the corporates together to understand and to turn these kind of foresights into action plans and then actually help hands-on to implement those. And some of these implementations could result in some of the pillars that we offer, for example, product ideation and development, where we help with creative ideas to help the clients develop new products that they can launch to complement their product portfolio. We're also able to do technology scouting, where we look for various technology-based solutions that can help addressing core problems that corporates have. Or we can also look for startups or SMEs that might already have solutions that can be applied and then implemented into a corporate environment. We can also build complete new ventures or businesses from scratch around the venture building. And of course, for every new market we go into, we can help to do opportunity assessment and market entry. And that's especially relevant, of course, for overseas businesses that see an opportunity to enter the Southeast Asian market. With our business, we focus on health and sustainability. So current trendy topics here is healthy food and nutrition, or alternative replacements, aging, living, circular economy, materials, built environment, and smart cities. And when companies choose to work with us, they'll get, like with pressing a go button, access to our current ecosystems, which basically links corporates, startups, governments, institutions together in order to get the work done quite efficiently. So when we started Budding Innovations, we didn't have any business from P&G. So we basically started from scratch. And one of our bigger corporates and interesting projects we found was an Australia-listed company that grew certain trees that gave them essential oils that have unique antimicrobial benefits to, for example, address skin rashes. And that company has been working with a US-based company on developing clinical products or medication for these skin rashes. And we've been able to convince the client to work with us on non-prescriptions or over-the-counter kind of applications. So through our expertise, we've studied what that oil can do, what are the benefits of that oil, how does that work to the human body in a positive way, how much is needed, and what form. And we were able to develop certain new product ideas in various industries or domains, like in oral care, for skin care, for intimate care, or for wound care. And we've not only been able to come up with new ideas, but turn them into actual prototypes that we then tested with the labs for efficacy. And also we found potential collaboration partner that are already market leader in an area, and then being able, with that new oil, implement it into their products to have a new products, innovative new products for go-to-market. So it's a very was a very nice win-win, where the company with the essential oils can sell more, and a market leader can develop new products with that oil incorporated. And what started from an initial scouting and idea creation became a whole portfolio of ideas and new products. So successful that we had most of the organization, 6 full-time people, just working for that one client. And at some point in time, we were asked to develop a whole range, 30 plus products under a totally new brand that that company wanted to bring to the market, both on formulation and packaging. And we were about to hire and interview 5 additional people to serve that client. But then the unexpected happened. So the client lost, unfortunately, their biggest supply deals, so their biggest customer. I think the CEO tried to cover it up or did some dodgy things, and as a result, the share price went down. The company eventually went bankrupt and was taken over. And we had, within a very short period of time, suddenly all of the 6 people without jobs. And at that point in time, we also didn't have the best terms there. So we didn't want it to leave, let people go, because developing certain talents in that field is not easy. So we tried to focus more on other business development ideas and build clients. But we had to take a loan, and we got a big hit and almost went bankrupt during that stage. So, and that is, of course, some things where we're now have incorporated into the way we do business now. So we try to look at what can happen, even unexpected things, and try to incorporate those into contract terms or into the way we would move forward. And of course, also never be over-reliant on just one big client, but trying to diversify. The good thing, however, and that was a big learning, is that our expertise came in of innovating cross domains. By us being able to study what that essential oil does and having exposure in the different domains, we were really able to then work with external partners to deliver in all of these areas. And that is, of course, a strength now that we have been successfully moving forward. While we were doing corporate innovations, we've also started our own startup from scratch, a company called EcoWorth, where we took a license, a technology solution as a licensing deal from a local university around a sorbent material, and developed a team of EcoWorth around. And the startup is focusing on sustainable water remediation and circular economy. And maybe before I share a little bit more, let me first play a very short video that gives you a bit of an introduction. And I hope that the sound works. So this was the startup, as I mentioned. I participated in the PNG Alumni Catapult program, and we won the first prize last year.
Can you, I think we need to put the sound because it's not, I can't hear it.
Sound is not playing?
Give me 1 second. On your end, if you can put share sound on the drop-down option. On the menu, sort of like where it says more on the bottom.
Okay, let's try this.
25.
There we go.
Two-thirds of the
Thank
world
you.
population will not have access to sufficient clean water.
Okay.
To sustain the access
to
sufficient clean water. Current treatment solutions to address this are either inefficient, very costly, or complex for companies to implement in their processes. And businesses have to sustain the extra cost that come with it due to the lack of water recycling systems and technologies. And with tightening legislation and sustainability goals and targets, companies need to find new and innovative solutions to address all the issues in a very efficient way.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Stolz. I'm the CEO of EcoWorth, a clean tech company that focuses on sustainable wastewater remediation and circular economy. 4 years ago, my co-founder, Dr. Bert Grobban, and myself left the corporate careers to follow our passion to create meaningful impact with innovation like EcoWorthTech. Our clean tech solution is a game changer with the potential to disrupt and completely innovate the existing technology for industrial wastewater treatment and oil and gas decontamination.
For this, we have developed carbon fiber aerogel, also known as CFA. This is an environmentally friendly material that is non-toxic, natural and recyclable. CFA has the ability to remove up to 99% of liquid organic contaminants like grease, solvents, dyes, fats and oils from wastewater, ensuring that the contaminants are then safe so that it can be released back into the environment. So instead of paying a third party.
Okay, so I think the innovative aspects of that solution is threefold. One is we are able to use a cellulosic biomass waste like fruit bunches, husk fibers, or even waste paper carton for the production of the carbon fiber aerogel, or CFA in short. We then use the material as a super absorbent to remove oil from water, right? Where we, with squeezing, can both reuse the oil, the absorbed oil, and the water. And then at the end, we bring this material back into the ground where it serves as a fertilizer. And we've been able to identify that this process is applicable to the highest quality carbon offset credits. And you can imagine that one of our vision is that for big oil spills, our solutions is being chosen in the future. However, of course, as a startup, that's not a business model you can rely on. So you have to find smaller areas where there's a regular demand. And hence we've developed or brought our filter material into an industrial heavy-duty filter that can withstand high pressure, high temperature. And we've been able to find customers in the oil refinery where our filter can make a difference. And having talked with a couple of oil refineries before the pandemic, there were huge interest because all of the oil refineries were at that time under huge pressure to cost save. And even though, let's say, the pandemic kicked in, we were able to just qualify this filter with a first customer in Thailand, actually. And this data came from the client, so a 40x return on investment, the filter lasting more reliably and longer versus the current filters. And of course, during COVID was a tough time for us. We were not able to implement a solution to other sites. And even after COVID, when we talked with the clients, they told us, oh, now we don't have so much pressure on cost savings since most of the oil refineries made a lot of profit during that time. But they're now looking for a solution more where they can showcase their sustainability efforts in the media. So anyway, for us, this caused a lot of issues. We were once not able to gain the required revenue and also not the investments that was linked towards that revenue deal. So what we did is we pivoted and we saw an opportunity in the maritime space to develop and adapt the filter to be able to put it on board of ships in order to treat the oily so-called bilge water that is on board of the ship. That either is being released overboard, but of course this is highly illegal, or brought back to the next harbor for costly treatment. And here you can see a couple of prototypes that we've done on utilizing our filter modules and our sorbent booms to really remove oils from various locations, interceptors, and open sea. But COVID was tough and we ran out of cash. And during that time, of course, no investor wants to give you more money because the future was not so clear. So we had to find creative ideas on how to keep floating, literally. So we found a way to apply for a grant to develop solutions specifically for the maritime environment. And we've also participated in a lot of startup challenges that gave us a cash prize. In that particular year, we were very lucky and successful to win enough money to sustain the team of additional 2 people while we were waiting to get back to the clients. So here we were really able to stay close to the market and to be agile to market changes. And that's something definitely startups need to do, and pivot if it's needed. But also the importance of the vision and purpose that we've all learned, I think, in P&G was super, super critical, especially when there's no cash there to pay salaries and you need the team to stay motivated and bonded to make the work happen. And then, of course, with investors not putting in money because they don't see the revenue coming, trying to navigate and finding different funding and financial ways to keep going. Okay, let me just see some of the questions before I move on. Okay,
there was
maybe
a
the early stage
question.
fundraising, I think. Yeah.
Yes, about tips
So-
on how to go about early fundraising, particularly if an investor who has verbally committed to some investments then suddenly pulls back on that commitment.
Yeah, so some tips. I think one is trying to have that new investor being engaged with your current investors helps, right? So that the pulling back becomes a little bit more tricky. Maybe another way is to that new investors to make him hooked up with a smaller investment if he feels certain things is too risky. And then trying to align on KPIs where the investor then follows through with follow-up commitment. I mean, with any early stage fundraising and investments, it's where the investor basically invests in the team and of course in the potential of the technology, right? And I think that is where then the co-founders or the founding team needs to ensure that the new investor is convinced that the team is able to follow through. And of course, that there's enough potential for the technology to succeed in the markets. And if some additional work is being required, then that's on that front. Okay, I hope I answered that question. If not, please feel free to ask more questions. So. All right, I think shifting now to a little bit on collaborations and also future trends. I think one of the future trends that we see is helping corporates to becoming much more better set up for the future, right? So that especially in a time where you have changes in climate that has certain impacts to environment, where you have changes from consumers, where suddenly consumer want to know where maybe cows are being grown and what happens with the milk or the meat, in situations where you have geopolitical tensions, supply chain disruptions. So that is an area where we've been focusing now here and seeing an area to work on and to scale. And also, of course, a huge area to collaborate with like-minded people or experts in that area. So what we have been developing is a framework around strategic foresight that helps to identify these risks and opportunities from these different impact areas, and then work with the clients to assess them, to kind of like look at and merge them with where the client wants to go in the future, and then to prioritize which of these areas is it worth and we would need to address over what type of period. And then to basically from there, backcasting and putting in roadmaps in place to help the clients develop either contingency plans, different supply chains, or bringing in new technologies that helps the client to move forward. And here you'll see one of the case studies that we did for a big corporate that has a critical emulsifier ingredient for their chocolates, where they've seen various impacts, especially driven by the Ukraine-Russia war, but also through tensions in South America and changing consumer perceptions around certain certifications. And that is, of course, always an area where we collaborate with additional experts, right? Maybe on strategic foresight, which we did in the first place, supply chains or any area. And here we basically help the clients to put in a much more resilient supply chain in place. Another area where we've been successfully collaborating is around open innovation challenges. So we've worked here with another partner and the local government on helping 18 corporates to find technology-based solutions to their current industry problems. So we've worked with these corporates through various workshops where we then brought in the one or the two experts. We worked with a partner that has technology-based solutions to reach out to various startups and technology owners, and also to accept online application, and with which we then help to pre-select and engage the corporates to the startups. And then for some of those, we really help to even getting plans in place, helping to get government-based funds, and to do the actual implementation. And the example before this example, or the very first one with the essential oil, is definitely areas where we are open for collaborations. And we actually been working with 2 ex-P&G employees that we found not through this P&G alumni, but I think this is a good example where with ex-P&G people, there's a certain understanding, certain professionalism, and a huge diverse expertise that everyone has access to, right? And the talents. And I think this community could be really well suited to continue sharing the learnings, knowledge exchanging, but also to really discuss about partnerships and collaboration. And with that, I would encourage everyone to maybe take more use of this community, engage and collaborate together. So with that, let's go into the Q&A.
Thank you, Andre. And again, congratulations on everything and all the journey, the ups and downs, and being able to get to where you are today. We do have another question. We have several public and others on the back. Which types of companies will be looking for your support, and what must be their mindset so they realize that they can benefit from your help?
Okay, that's a good question. So I think the companies that are looking for are either those that find it very challenging to foresee what is coming their way, right? Maybe they don't have the expertise on how to assess certain changes in the marketplace, and then to identify what they can do today, tomorrow, next year, the year after, to address some of these challenges. So that was the example I've just mentioned, right? And they're looking for that certain expertise to bring into their company. And the other type of company that is seeking us out is to either twofolds, to either maybe a company that has a certain product, a certain material, and wants to develop based on maybe that material, a wider range of products, right? In order to grow the business and maybe to go into applications on domains that the company didn't even think about before, right? And also is, of course, open to do that with an external party and maybe not launch it under their own brand, which of course is also possible. I think the other sort of companies are those that maybe want to go into a product area or an innovation space where they're not yet in or not yet so strong, and maybe a bit of a niche, but a potential area, and maybe want to work more with outside partners instead of maybe building up their own manufacturing and supporting the full supply chain. So some area, for example, is if a company is in maybe in manual oral care, manual toothbrushes, and now they want to move towards electric toothbrushes, right? And then maybe due to the investment given required, maybe work that with external partners, right? Or who have, as I mentioned, maybe an antimicrobial ingredient and want to launch into another country. Or where they say, hey, today I have these issues, and instead of us developing in ourselves and investing heavily in R&D resources, why am I not looking outside, see what could work there, adapt that to my problem, and then implement it? So I think these are the type of companies that are looking out towards us.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Now, during your story, and especially you opened up with the comment about how you moved out of P&G and straight into entrepreneurship. And I think a lot of our audience is in sort of that stage of thinking about, okay, where do I want to go next in my career? And a lot of that might mean moving out of corporate and into entrepreneurship, but it is a scary thing to think about because of all the different failures that we hear that happen. And obviously, that's something that, you know, we might not want to experience, but still in the end, there's always a silver lining. And you've shared a lot of those through your story. So what do you think, what are the skills, what are the lessons, either from P&G or from other places, that you think are the most valuable for people to keep in mind as somebody wants to navigate into this new journey of starting their own business?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is having a vision, a clear vision of what everyone wants to do, and maybe to leave behind, a legacy to leave behind, or for me it was the impact to make. And I've had the idea to start something on my own already many years before I actually became entrepreneur. But at that time, I either was too inexperienced or I didn't have the right business idea. And I also knew that I knew only a certain things, and the areas I don't know. So, and then it happened that over time I got out, I saw some opportunity in the market. I had discussions with my co-founder, and then at some point in time, everything just fall into place. And I thought, okay, this is now the opportunity for me. If I stay a couple of years longer in P&G, maybe I get promoted, I get such a good retirement, I would never leave. But I thought that this is now the time to really take the chance and to do it. And of course, it was initially very tough, suddenly leading your own business, especially when you start hiring people and needing to have a regular income stream to generate profit and to keep going. But I've also learned that being open and bringing in partners and other like-minded experts, the learning journey can be so much eased, and by combining really the expertise, the powers, the hands-on, the capacities, suddenly you can do so much more than on your own. And I think that is what I would encourage everyone to say, hey, not just, okay, I do this, don't want to share it with anyone. Be open, and sometimes you share the cake, but as long as the cake is double the size or even bigger, it's still worth sharing. And I think that is maybe a way to go.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you. Now, you talk about starting with this vision, right, of what's the impact that in the end you want to create. And when you bring other people, they might have their own vision as well, although there may be things in common. They may also be things that maybe have their own track, so to speak. And then there's the market that keeps changing and evolving, especially in the fast pace that we're in today, with all the almost like innovations happening on a daily basis. So how do you maintain that original vision and be able to balance between all of these competing priorities, market changes, and then bringing people to continue going down that path, or knowing how to adapt and navigate that?
Yeah, I think that is a very good question and an actual business challenge. Yes, of course, when we left the corporate world, we had the vision to create impact to environment and to health, and to work with innovative technologies to bring them forward. Of course, we also sometimes then work with the clients, and maybe the idea isn't so innovative, and maybe the business opportunity might not so big like we want, right? But maybe we're in the situations where doing that project is critical to making a small step to maybe get access to new stakeholders, maybe get the door open into a company, into a bigger company and a bigger client. And then I think you try to balance and maneuver through, right? We also started off with another FMCG company doing very simple ideation, right? And we thought like, oh, even in an area where we didn't feel so comfortable initially, but where we said, okay, with a bit of learning, researching, we can go there. And we started off with that, some ideas, and because we brought a different angle and different creativity through our different mindsets and thinking, the client was overwhelmed and said, like, wow, our own R&D folks could never even think about these things. And what happened is that suddenly within the different R&D BUs, we got jobs from all kinds of business units. And suddenly that small idea became a big client. And then walking, yes, what is the next breakthrough innovation, and stayed on path on our vision. So I think sometimes, yes, you have to do something practical to keep the business going, or to do things that might open you a door to maybe where in the end then you want to go to.
Thank you. And obviously, innovation is all about thinking different and being able to come up with ideas that don't exist, or ways to resolve issues that are not front and center. So, and again, with this fast-paced environment that everything keeps changing all the time, are there any future trends that you're looking at or that you see as being the most influential, especially when for many of these startups that you've been talking about, or entrepreneurs, for them to think about? And I know that this is a loaded question because it depends on the industry, it depends on the focus, it depends on the place, on the location where you are. But any insights from your point of view?
Yeah, as you said, I mean, it really depends on the different industries and technologies. But I think what we see is just such a rapid growth of digitalization in all areas. Whether that is interpreting huge data sets, machine learning, analysis, suddenly data is available and can be interpreted and used that was in the past just not possible. And I think you'll see that popping up everywhere. And with generative AI, I think it's something that is scary, but of course very opportunistic to come. Right? Suddenly we really have access to ideas, to knowledge, to solutions, to interpretation, to data that then can be used to provide meaningful solution. And I think what people need to do is to really find a way what is then really unique, right? And something that is not so easy to do, right? So everybody, I think, should use digital technologies, should use GenAI to make their life happen, but then putting in an angle that, is stimulating, comes from the brains, the collective team, and that will, I think, differentiate what solutions will be adapted in the future, because there might always be somebody who has more money, more budgets, or more technology. But I think the true impact will be done by those that combine all the different advancements and provide a unique angle to it.
Thank you. Now, you touched several times, and even some of the questions talked about funding and financial management, and that really is, well, it's the essence of any business. Obviously, if we don't have a healthy financial foundation, there is no business. But especially in a startup, it can make it or break it. So any strategies that you have found effective in terms of either managing finances or securing funding when people are looking into their startups?
Yeah, I think I've learned a lot about how to secure funding for startups, and we've also done various rounds from angel investors to institutions, government grants of all kinds of sizes, paid pilot programs. So I think overall, startups need to plan their finances incredibly well, right? That means a startup needs, based on their readiness level and a certain valuation, need to predict, okay, what would I do to get to the next level? Whether the next level is a prototype, a market entry, a scale up, whatever it is, need to define, okay, what type of resources is required? Not just money, of course, people and other things as well, but then plan for that money and find the right investor at the right time, right? So earlier stage might be angel investments, or even earlier family, friends, and whatever, government grants. And then later on, maybe trying to find scale-up grants, new application grants. And then once there's revenue, then maybe involve into VCs and trying to get a big amount of money for scale-up. So, and I think founders need to really take fundraising serious. They always need to be ready to fundraise if the opportunity comes, but also put some time and effort aside, right? And then at the right point in time, raise ideally the right amount of money, because if you raise too much money, maybe you have to give away too many company shares, or if you raise too little money, you may run out of cash, and you might need to raise funds when you are in a troubled situation, and then your valuation, of course, is also lower. And if you raise with a lower valuation in a subsequent round, that is never positive to no one, to your current investors not, to the new investor not, and what is to come. Yes, so then definitely financial planning is very critical. However, to also say that, of course, the best financial inputs and funding is, of course, coming from revenue. So, and that is a big learning to us as well. We had, when we started EcoWorthTech, we had only the material on hand. We did not have a product and then applications where we could eventually, sell a product. So it took us a long time to actually develop an industry-related product. And that is something where I would, suggest or propose to those that want to start a new business, try to find out very quickly on what is a product that the customer needs and trying to sell first, even that is limited sales with limited quantities to maybe not the price that you ideally wanted, but drive sales first, because especially in these times, investors will look for even more sales before putting in an investment. And once you can show profitable growth, even though that growth may not be so great, it will still give every founding team much more time to sustain their business and then find the right opportunity when maybe the market is right, the investor landscape is right, to then raise funds.
Thank you. Now, you talked about the importance of, partnerships and community and just leaning on others. It's not, this is not a one-person show. You really need to lean on family and friends, and then anybody that's around you, right, to be able to grow. So there's a question that's coming in terms of how can the global network leadership of the P&G alumni and the chapter leaders, how can we foster further the collaboration and discussions among the alumni to support each other in the startup and innovation space, either as part of Catapult or in addition to it, because we have a very rich community of thought leaders and change makers. So any insights there?
Okay, that's a very big question, but I'll try to provide some perspective on that. I think the initiative with the Catapult program is very good for, of course, those that have founded their own startups, right? And trying to, one, raise awareness, maybe get supporters there, maybe angel investors in the alumni, and of course, maybe a way to broaden their network. So I think On the startup side, keeping the catapult program going is a first good step, right? Maybe even taking that to a next level where there could be potential collaborations or tie-ups with investor groups or VCs or funds, right? Because startups are always looking to raise money, as I mentioned. I think on the further couple of ideas, I think is maybe just sharing on who does what within the alumni, and maybe finding webinars, not webinars, maybe finding some discussion groups or workshops around a certain topic. That maybe there's some volunteers who could come up with a couple of topics, and then like-minded individuals could chip in there, right? And of course, there is a directory there. But there could be more and more, let's say, events, right, or exchanges. Or also, if somebody has an offer or a need to build businesses, I think that there could be a platform for exchanges there. And of course, with me being based in Singapore, I see now that we also have a local Singapore chapter. So I think connecting the different chapters in the world might also be a good way, and to foster on a more regional level as well, right? It doesn't have to be everything just on a pure global level, but somewhere to start.
Thank you.
And of course, happy to hear any other ideas from other members or those that agree, disagree.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we have time for one final question before we end this great session. And again, you keep talking about these partners. How do you know when you need to let go? Because not everybody needs to be present and a part of the journey throughout the whole journey of a startup, right? Sometimes some partners and some people are good at certain stages, but then after a while, there needs to be an evolution of that. So is there any thoughts or any recommendations on how to go about that?
Yeah, I think you touched base a good point. And I've seen that in any career so far, that sometimes a particular individual is so good at doing certain things to get the company from A to B, right? But then, let's say the person should not also definitely hold on to something and say, "Oh, I've built this one now. I never let it go," right? But should more see as like, okay, now there might be maybe another person more suited to take on what I've built, right? And maybe there's much more opportunities for me now to expand my horizon and maybe to move into an area and focus there, for example, investments, partnerships, or something where the person then feels very strongly at. And for me, I also have a very clear glide path where I think my strength is bringing the company from early stage to a stage where we have a certain client base. But then in terms of internationalization and global expansions, that is the time frame where I've set myself, okay, there will be another leader, probably more experienced, more knowledgeable than me, in that position, taking over the company as the CEO. And I think that is a mindset that honestly I did not have when I was young and grew up, but I think something that I've just valued, that in order to win as a company, there's many win-wins. And I think defining for yourself what is still a win without saying, okay, you're letting go of your baby or something that you've built is something just very critical, and a mindset that good to have. Even things don't go well, right? To then say, hey, I've still learned this. I'm good at that. If I apply that in another area, I'm quite sure I will succeed in some way.
Thank you. You're right. We need to learn not only when to push, but also when to let go so that things can continue to grow and reach that vision. Thank you so much, Andrea. Any final words before we finish and we close this session?
Oh, first of all, thanks, Eliana. It was a pleasure. Thanks for some of the questions here. Very, very interesting. I would just encourage everyone to keep an open mind to continue exchange learnings and collaborate and eventually help each other grow the business together. So let's do that.
Thank you. Thank you so, so much for sharing your story, your journey, your insights. It's always very, very valuable, like you mentioned, for us to be able to share all of these best practices so that we can then come together and change the world for the better in a faster way, which I think is our overall shared mission. So thank you. Appreciate the time, especially knowing that it's the very end of the day for you. So truly appreciate that. Okay, let me go back here for some final comments. Please get involved. Like we've mentioned, we are a powerful community. So it is important for all of us to come together to share. So get involved, pgalums.com. Support the foundation. It's critically important to be able to continue to launch initiatives that are very important around the world. So support the foundation, partner with us as well, volunteer, start, join a chapter. We continue to grow, but it really is all about us coming together. And send us an email at hello@pgalums.com if you have any other thoughts or any other ideas. All of our webinars are recorded, and they will be available not only on our website, but also on our YouTube page. So make sure that you follow us there as well. And then finally, I invite you to for our next month's webinar, which is celebrating International Women's Day. And we're going to have Adriana Mendizabal, who's the North America president for Stanley Black & Decker, a very dear friend of mine. So I'm very excited about having her on this platform with us. And so I invite you. She's going to talk about corporate responsibility and the importance of advancing women's leadership in business. So a lot to have there. March 12th, don't miss on that one. And finally, again, anything else that you want to share with us, send us an email at hello@pgalums.com. Thank you, Andra, so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today, and have a wonderful day wherever in the world you are. Have a good one.